Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is an incredible story about Prestwick Airport and an accusation that John Swinney has been accused of an inside job over a bid to sell it. Now, this story was done yesterday in the Sunday Mail by John Ferguson, and the headline is John Swinney accused of inside job over bid to sell Prestwick Airport. Multi-millionaire businessman Forsyth Black has emerged as a secret bidder to buy the profitable Nationalized facility, despite having been appointed the chairman by ministers to run it on behalf of the public. But it's very intriguing what he's actually done during his tenure as the chairman of Prestwick Airport. This is crazy. John Swinney is facing an inside job conflict of interest scandal over his government's plan to sell Prestwick Airport. Multi-millionaire businessman Forsyth Black has emerged as a secret bidder to buy the profitable Nationalised facility, despite having been appointed chairman by ministers to run it on behalf of the public. Now, this is the bit that I find a bit weird, right? The Scottish Government bought Prestwick Airport and was a bit of a shambles and losing money for £1. They have spent millions on it. Now that it starts to become profitable, it's now for sale. Why would you do that? If it's now profitable, why not just keep it in the public purse and generate money, for those things like health, housing, education, addiction therapies, these things that we're absolutely shite at. We could do with some more money, but we'll sell it off. And I'll guarantee you, before we even get there, we will not sell it for as much as we could, because we've got history of doing that as well. We sell things far too cheap that should remain in the public. Like wind turbines offshore. Like, we don't own any of them anymore. We've hawked them all to foreign businesses. So we don't have a great past record of getting value for money for assets. However, the story continues. The Sunday Mail has uncovered evidence that Black previously blocked and failed to pass on rival bids. This is crass. And the reasons or excuse for doing so are absolutely brilliant. Wait to hear this. At a Holyrood committee meeting in December 2023, he admitted having knowledge of alternative bids that were not passed on to ministers. He suggests that even senior management had not been given full sight of bids because they could be very distracting. And it was a pre-filter that was being applied. So basically, other people bid for this thing that's owned by the public, Scottish people. But the chairman has decided not to pass those bids on to the Scottish Parliament. He also is not even let his own board know about these other bids. Gets better. He said the board has recognised that bids for a business are very distracting to senior management and suck up a lot of time. We have put in place pre-filter processes so that spurious bids or bids that do not have the correct provable financial backing, the correct experience, or various other things. What's these various other things? What else do you need to buy an airport? Will not go beyond that filter. Otherwise, we would end up down rabbit holes with Ian Forgy, the airport CEO, and his team doing nothing but managing potential spurious bids and not paying attention to their day job. So we've now established that not only did he not inform the Scottish Government of these bids, he didn't even talk to the airport CEO. So who did he talk to? When Black was asked how many bids have been received in total and then passed to the Scottish Government with recommendations for sale, he added, listen to this bit, during my time as chair, no bids have been passed to the Government. We have received a small number. Now, I don't know what a small number is. You see, a small number would be more than one, right? But it could be less than 10, or it could be less than 1,560. So it's really a shit answer, isn't it? But we know that there's more than one. I mean, he says a small number of bids. That would suggest plural. So it's at least two, right? But none was but none has passed every test that was required. Now, let me just remind you of his tests. If it's got to have probable financial backing, provable, which is fair enough, correct experience, or various other things. What various other things? Like you don't know them, or you don't like them, or you're no part of their gang. Is that what the other things are? So, where are we? During the same meeting, Black admitted that a new bid is in the process of being assessed. Now, this is just months ago. We will put the bid through the filter and make a recommendation. So up until this point, not a single bid get through his filter, right, of the small number of bids during his time in the chair. None. Zero. Nanty. They got bids, but none that this guy Black thought should go to the government or even the management, like CEO level management we're talking about. No guy in charge of the coffee shop management, right? They didn't need to know about them. Nobody got to know about any of the bids, but he's telling us back then there's one more that's in the pipeline. Right? This is where it gets really good. And we'll put the bid through the filter and make a recommendation. The Scottish Government later revealed it had received a bid, but declined to reveal the identity of the bidder. It was only in March this year, a few weeks after Black quit as chairman, without explanation, it emerged that he'd joined an aviation company, 1X Corporation, and it was them that bid for the airport. Right? So the only bid in this guy's tenure that was passed up the chain to the Scottish ministers would be a company he starts working for weeks later. These people have no conscience. Before Black became chairman in 2022, so he was there for 2 years, a total of 4 unsuccessful bids are known to have been made to the airport since it was nationalised by the Scottish Government. Black's LinkedIn page states he joined 1X in June 2022. You listening? June 2022. Just 7 months after being named by Economy Minister Kate Forbes as chairman of Prestwick. So he becomes the chairman of Prestwick at the start of 2022. In June in 2022, he joins this company called 1X. For the next 2 years, anybody that bid on the Prestwick Airport had to pass through his filters that he didn't tell anybody else about, and every single one of them failed. Except one months before he left his job from 1X, who he already worked for 2 years, by the way. And that one gets passed up we can accept that one. He then resigns from the chair of Prestwick Airport with no reason given and takes another job with the 1X Corporation. Graham Simpson, Tory MSP for Central Scotland, told a Parliament committee that there was a perception of it being a bit of an inside job. He said if he did, then there was no way that the chair of Prestwick Airport should have been working on a bid for the airport while in position. That was wholly inappropriate. There's a clear potential conflict of interest. There's no a potential conflict of interest. There is a definite conflict of interest there. A 100% conflict of interest. The Scottish Government last night refused to answer key questions, including whether it knew in December that Black was behind the bid discussed and when further offers were received. Now, let's just go back here. Where are we? His LinkedIn page, his own LinkedIn page, which is publicly available, states he joined 1X in June 2022. Right, 2 years ago. We then receive a bid, and nobody clicked that this might be a conflict of interest. A spokesman said, in January this year, the Scottish Government updated the Parliament on the status of Glasgow Prestwick Airport and confirmed expressions of interest had been received. As one of the expressions of interest is linked to Forsyth Black, the then chair of the board of the airport, it was mutually agreed that Mr Black should step back from the board to ensure an independent and fair assessment can be made. it would not be appropriate to share further details, including the number or identity of any other organisations behind an expression of interest at this time. Now, this is ridiculous because any people that want transparency, things like that, would not have asked them to step back at that time. They would have put the offer in the bin because there was a clear and obvious conflict of interest. And when months previous to that, he sat in the committee rooms with you guys and, you know, ministers and stuff, and said that he put his own filters on any bids before giving them to the ministers who actually own the thing on our behalf, right? But miraculously, there was only one bid that got through these filters, and it was a company that he'd worked for 2 years previous. At that point there, not only should he have been flung out his job, his bid should have been flung out, because he's taking your pants down, in case you haven't noticed this, right? And this is the problem we've got. See, when we get people who are, I'm not going to say what I think they could be going on here, but, you know, this bid in business getting sold could be worth a lot of money to people. And sometimes when businesses are sold to people who are going to make a lot of money out of them, and they're, you know, maybe a wee bit unscrupulous about how it's went about, then sometimes there's sort of gratuities paid to other people. That's all I'll say in the matter. Unbelievable. Oh, 1X, where Black is a strategic advisory board member. She's not just got a job, he's on the board. Did not respond to requests for comment. Now, if the Scottish Government don't take that offer, whatever it is, regardless of what it is, scrunch it up and throw it in the bin, you are accepting this type of behaviour and saying it's acceptable. And it's not acceptable. On so many levels, it's not acceptable. And it just shows that the people that run, and I've been saying this for weeks now, the people that run the country use a different set of rules and guidance than people that run a business. Because if that was a business transaction to a proper business, you'd be like, here mate, bolt. Take your offer and get up the road. But we're not. We're dealing with crackpots that run governments. Some of the quality of the ministers that this government's had in the last 17 years is quite frankly shocking. So if 1X do end up buying Prestwick Airport, a profitable business, why the Scottish Government would think, you know, they put tens, maybe hundreds of millions of pounds into this thing to get it to a level of profitability just to now offload it to somebody else. Beggars belief. Absolutely beggars belief. But why am I surprised? I shouldn't be. I have no right to be surprised with the ineptness of the SNP and their government. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing. And most importantly of all, unless you're SNP, their ministers and their cult following, or anybody try to steal an airport, everybody else have a great day. Cheery bye now.